This point on page 209 is how long you live is a matter of taste. So meaning that you can live a long time, but once you get into your 90s, even the mid 80s and 90s, stuff starts to break down and your standard of living becomes lower. Quality of life, your quality of life becomes lower. Is it worth living that long? Well, that's as they says here, a matter of taste. You could live fantastically until you're 65 and then decide, well, I'm just going to end my life because I don't want to go through the last 30 years or 20 years, which will be more painful, which will not be the quality of life. So your quality of life could be a matter of taste. You could live fantastically and then decide, well, then that's it. I'm not going to live the rest. And I think I've heard, there may even be a concept, people who actually do that, they will rack up debt and live fantastically and then just end it and not have to worry about the debt, which is pretty predatory and parasitical on society, but there may be people who do that. But anyways, that just sounds interesting about it. Matter of taste, how long you live. And the longer we can live through nutrition and medicine advances and etc., there may be a greater choice. We may be able to keep someone alive until they're over 100. I'm not talking about the odd case. It's very, very rare to live over 100. I'm talking about it being a common case. But if your quality of living is so low, it may not be worth it, right? So again, a matter of taste, a matter of how long do you want to live. Here's an interesting point kind of related to the previous one about how long you live or your conditions of life. This is on page 233. So I'll just read a bit of it so you get the point of it. So he's talking about Mike, the main character, who's, I think at this point, still kind of an infant. They're living at Jubal's house, and they've been kind of sheltering him. And so this is a discussion with Jill, who's the nurse that rescued him. So it says here, I don't think he really wants to go out into the world. So he's talking about Mike. I'm going to push him out of the nest as soon as he can fly. I shan't make it possible for him to live out his life as an arrested infant. For one thing, I can't. Mike will outlive me by many years. But you are correct. Mike is innocent. Nurse, have you seen that sterile laboratory at Notre Dame? I've read about it. Healthiest animals in the world, but they can't leave the laboratory. Child, Mike has got to get acquainted with filth and get immunized. So there's a couple points here, I guess you could say that, first of all, if you keep someone sheltered, when they go into the real world, they're going to get beaten up. So, and this is a point on parenting. This is a point even on education. You're giving kids a college education of useless stuff. When they go to the real world, they're going to find that stuff is useless. They're probably going to become activists and poor, and then now you've got a lot of the things that are happening in modern universities. The other thing is, of course, that there's this, I think it's called the hygienic hypothesis, something about like the rate of disease in the world can be, like, we have a much greater fear of epidemics in North America because we live such a sterile life. Things are clean here. But if you go to places, third world countries, they are less likely to have epidemics or get sick because they live more in filth and dirtiness. Something like that. I think it's called the hygienic hypothesis. I can't remember, something like that. So the question is how much and what's the method of kind of introducing people into the real world when they're a child. I guess that's been a question forever. That's been a problem that the human race has always had to deal with, and including not only just pathogens but also the real world in terms of work and people, etc.